This is Ben, Abby's brother. Hi, Ben.
What's up?
What's up? All right, so we're talking about love on the spectrum because we've been part of the show now for 3 years. And it's been really amazing to kind of sit and watch how autism has changed, how the perception of Abbey has changed. You know, they asked me a question in season 1, which is, what's your fears for Abby's future? And I bawled my eyes out and said I was afraid the world would be mean to her and take advantage of her because she's very innocent. And
All right, we've got to put her somewhere. She's a distraction.
no matter what we do, this little mini toy Australian Shepherd comes in with various tuggable toys asking for permission.
Here, just put it.
Come back when you're ready. We want to talk about love on the spectrum and how it's changed perceptions of autism. You know, there's different populations within autism, and this word spectrum means a million things. It used to be different before 2013. We had different language. When Abbey was growing up, we had Asperger's, which you're not allowed to say anymore. But that was a specific demographic of people with similar traits. And now that population is now all in one playing field called spectrum, which is why it's hard to figure out. But for us, it was a lifelong struggle. Abbey was diagnosed at 2. She has had 22 plus years of speech. She's in speech now. Just like our whole lives. And for you, I mean, when you were a kid, don't you remember half your life was in therapy rooms?
Yeah, there was definitely a lot of times going and picking her up and spending time just with therapists at the house, other places, things that
clipboards in our house, therapists in our house, and
at school, stuff like that.
Right, different, you know, it was a very specific experience, and I think all siblings understand what that is, and it's all you know, so you accept it. Sometimes it might have been hard to have friends over at times. Did you ever feel that?
Yeah, definitely when I was younger, like elementary school, middle school, because it was kind of I guess I was younger. It was hard for me to either explain or we had to explain because that's important. You can't just you can't just expect someone to show up and judge her, or you can't expect one of my friends to show up and not judge her.
Right, and have a question.
They're going to be confused. Why is your sister shaking her hands? Why is she
walking around? Why is
talking
she
to herself?
Yeah. There was a lot of obvious behavior. So the kind of autism that we have was quite obviously presenting. Abby couldn't have conversations with people. She was kind of in her own world a lot of the time. She'd go run up to Ben's friends and get super close to them, or just poke them, or do we had to address it, and I always did because I wanted your friends to feel comfortable.
I think it's important, and they love her now.
I would pull your friends aside and in like junior high say, Abby has this thing called autism, and she might not understand what you're saying. Just treat her like any other kid. If you have any questions, come to me. You're not in trouble. You can, if you feel nervous, come to me and talk to me. We wanted to be very open so that other kids did not feel that mystery, like, what is this thing? Because that only adds to the disconnect and the fear, right? Yeah. So I think your friends have been amazing with her, and we've come so far in understanding autism. Don't you think, like with love on the spectrum, could you have ever imagined the reaction?
Yeah, well, I think the biggest benefit of this show and the notoriety that comes with that and the popularity is people finally starting to understand what autism really is. Because I feel like, there's a lot of like people who might just throw that word out to associate it with someone who just like, oh, that person's, autistic or whatever. And I feel like now it's very different because people are like watching the lives and how they navigate dating and how they navigate their families and their friends and the world. And it's like, oh, there's just a different way that they're taking everything in and expressing it outward as well. So it's
processing.
Yeah, people are finally starting to understand that on a bigger level. So it's like the biggest part of that for me, at least, is like I don't have to worry about Abby being judged when we go outside anymore, because that was a huge thing for me when I was a kid. It was like going anywhere, the mall, the grocery store, whatever.
People would stare.
People staring, people like obviously whispering to their people they're with. Like
a lot of dirty looks.
Yeah, totally. And it's like people just don't understand. They just think Abby's either being inconsiderate or like
weird, strange.
And now it's not that. Now it's people stare less because they are understanding what this really is, what autism is, and it's easier for them to now identify, oh, this person might be on the spectrum. Maybe that's why they're acting like this, right? Yeah. I've always had that ability. I'm sure you have also. Like, I can tell when someone is probably dealing with something like that.
I can totally tell when
so there's
someone's
no judgment.
Struggling. And so I go out of my way to connect with that person so that they feel a connection, whether it's more low support needs or high support needs, or even the Abbeys, which is
whatever it
kind
is,
of in the
like,
middle.
yeah.
I can, see it. I can see the struggle, and I really try to
Yep.
accommodate. That's a great thing. But like specifically on Love on the Spectrum, I think that showing the humanity of these alternative thinkers makes us, through the celluloid medium, really see into their souls and see their humanness, and makes us fall in love with them. Specifically, of course, Tanner pops into mind.
Yeah, Tanner.
Oh my God, we went to that party for Netflix, and he was so funny. He told me a really funny story about farting, and I thought it was so funny that he told me, and we were laughing the whole night. He'd look at me and he'd say, "Hey, Miss Christine," and we'd laugh, and it was... But there's Tanners everywhere. In every community, there are people like that, and we need to open our eyes to see them.
Yeah.
Is what I would say. That's, I hope, is what the show has taught, because before this show, when people walk by Tanner, did they smile? Did they ask for his autograph? Did they say "Love you, Tanner"? Did they take the time to know him? Probably not. And that's okay. But now that we know that there are Tanners and Abbeys and Davids and Dannys out there, let's show gratitude. Let's show compassion and not judgment, and embrace them. Say hi. Ask them how they're doing. If someone has a weird quirk, or Abbey still has stims. People at stim, that's a nervous system regulation thing. Abbey squeezes her face a lot, and she flails her arms to the side. It's a tightening of the muscles, and it's in OT, I believe we call it proprioceptive input, which means you can feel your body in space more stronger, so that you feel more centered, so you can access brain function. And if you're an OT watching this, I might have said that wrong, so I'm a parent. I spent years in therapy rooms watching you guys, so it's more that. But I hope that people continue and embrace people with neuro differences. And that being said, there's a lot of people who are, got through high school who weren't diagnosed, who do have struggles, who have gone without support. That population might be different than Abbey, because Abbey needed 22 years of speech therapy. She couldn't get past 2 years old, and other people can, and sometimes that's even harder for them. But we have to be careful about maybe over analyzing like sensory preferences, because that's a human experience. We all have sensory preferences. Like, I don't like loud restaurants. I just usually leave, but that doesn't mean I'm on the spectrum. So you have to kind of be aware of balancing out if it's really impairing you. But being aware of your sensory needs is a great thing, whether you're on the spectrum or not. Just means you're aware of things that make you uncomfortable or trigger you. But I don't know. I feel like the show is exciting. Are you excited for future seasons? And
it's a great show. That it's just it's a platform that's brought a lot of light to a subject that I think hasn't had enough light on. And I think that's the most amazing thing about it, is that there is now, I'm assuming, a lot of people, a lot of fans of it are people that probably didn't understand what autism was before the show, and now have a much better understanding of, oh, I've seen people like this. Oh, I've seen, and I've seen that behavior in public. That's probably what that person dealt with.
Exactly.
I thought that they were, being inconsiderate, or that it was bad parenting, or whatever it is. And now I'm sure there's a lot of people who can go back and say, oh, that person that I saw, they were probably on the spectrum or something. And I think that's the most important thing, is just the acceptance and understanding.
Yeah. It's all good. It's very good. We're excited to be part of it. It's been really great.
It's the biggest blessing ever to be a part of it, for sure.
And it's really special to be part in the season 1 for me. When no one knew what the show was, and I was terrified on the down low, on the backstory. What you didn't see was me going, oh my God, she's alone in a room with this guy interviewing her. What is she going to say? You guys should have seen some of the outtakes, because Abbey has no filter. Abby's a person with autism that I don't think masks, and I've asked doctors, clinicians, and people that know Abbey that are in the field, and they agree, and other autistic people that we know agree that she does not mask. There are people that do, and some of those people who have come here and had dinner with us have said, no, Abbey doesn't mask. I think that's what's funny about Abbey, because she calls it like it is, and there's no trying to be a certain way. She'll just leave the room. She'll do what she wants. She's kind of just really into her own needs, which I think is really great. But then other people on the spectrum who are lower support needs can try and manage all that stuff, mask what they're really feeling to get through a day. People like Abbey in her population don't do that. So here's to future autism awareness. You think?
Yeah, absolutely. It's going to keep growing and keep getting better. So it's a good movement.